What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Mock Draft Guy YouTube channel. You know exactly what time it is of the week. It is time for another 2024 NFL mock draft. Last week, I only did one round. This week, it will be a two-round mock draft here. And I got to be honest with you, I think I fucked things up pretty greatly in this mock draft, to be honest with you. For the better, not for the worse. Well, depending on what, team you follow, I guess, depending, it would be for better or worse. But I got to be honest with you, I was really, really happy with the way that this turned out. So before we start, please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed today. Please leave a comment and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. We are rolling right along throughout the entire draft season with NFL draft content. So you don't want to miss out. I'm putting up some pretty good content lately. A lot of player profiles, a lot of NFL draft diamond shorts as well. I'm super happy about those. And I started writing articles for stadiumrant.com. So be sure to check those out as well. If you couldn't get enough of me for some reason through videos, well, now I write articles too. So it's a lot of fun. So without further delay, let's get into it. You have the Chicago Bears still at number one overall, and things got just a little bit more interesting this past week with the Panthers beating the Atlanta Falcons, moving to 2-12, I believe it is. The New England Patriots are 3-11. The Arizona Cardinals are 3-11. So if Carolina wins again, then we're really, really in for it towards the last two or three games of the season. So, but as of right now, they still have a one-game lead for the number one overall pick, which just so happens to be for the Chicago Bears. And I'll be honest with you, you guys really crack me up in the comment section. One week I trade the number one overall pick. Everyone goes, "What are you doing? We can't draft. We can't build around Justin Fields. We got to take Caleb Williams." And then when or if I stay and take Marvin Harrison Jr., everyone's like, we can't build around that kid. Or if I take Caleb Williams, everyone goes, "Oh, I can't believe you took Caleb Williams with the number one overall pick. He's not going to be any good." Okay, so I figured this one out. I'm going to trade the number one overall pick here, and I'm going to trade the pick to the Washington Commanders. Now, the Commanders find themselves in somewhat interesting territory here at number 4 overall. It is very, very possible for them to move up to number 1. Let me be clear for the Commanders fans out there. I like Sam Howell. I am a Sam Howell believer. But this seems like a Jacksonville Jaguars situation. Now, what was a little bit different with that was Gardner Minshew was coming off of what? 2 decent seasons as the starter, kind of like what Sam Howell is doing. He's putting up decent numbers. They're not necessarily getting a lot of wins. The only difference between that and this was that they had the number 1 overall pick. They don't have to trade for it. But with basically guaranteed a new head coach and a new regime coming in, I don't know if a 5th round quarterback is going to keep me from moving up 3 spots to taking someone that could be generational. I'm not saying that he is generational. That word is thrown around far too much nowadays, but it's too good of an offer for me to pass up, or too good of a prospect for me to pass up here. So I'm going to move up from 4 to number 1. And the cost is going to be pretty hefty, I'd say. So the price to move up from number 4 to number 1 was obviously pick number 4. It was pick number 36 and then a first round pick next year. So honestly, not as bad as I thought. Still pretty hefty just to move up 3 spots, but Chicago's going to drive a hard bargain. And I got to be honest with you, before we even get into the picking Caleb Williams, who's going to be number 1 overall here, if Chicago fans don't appreciate me after this draft, I'm all out of ideas. I completely give up because I think that this is the best draft class that I've ever drafted for the Chicago Bears in 2024. You guys let me know in the comment section below. Anyway, Washington moves up to number 1. The only reason they move up to number 1 is to get Caleb Williams here. There's their new franchise quarterback under their new regime. And honestly, with the way that Sam Howell has played, I think that he could garner a lot of interest if they look to move on from him. So, not really the end of the world for the Washington Commanders. And they get to keep one of their second round picks as well, which is huge. New England Patriots, pretty straightforward. Number 2 overall, going to be Drake May. A lot of Patriots fans want Marvin Harrison Jr. here, but who's going to be throwing him the football? Do you really have that much confidence in Bailey Zappi? I don't think I could help you if you think that you have that much confidence in Bailey Zappi. So, it's going to be Drake May. What Caleb Williams does so well outside of the pocket, that's what Drake May does inside the pocket. I think inside the structure, there is no quarterback that's better at throwing the football than Drake May. I just think Caleb Williams does basically everything else better than him, but I will give that nod to Drake May here at number 2. And then number 3, Arizona falls into a perfect situation here. They get the number 1 overall player in the entire draft. That's going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. They don't have to move up. They don't have to trade down because he's not here anymore. they get exactly who they're looking for at number 3. This is also a killer draft for the Arizona Cardinals, if I remember correctly. Number 4 is really, for me, where this draft kind of starts. Malik Neighbors, it would be, if Marvin Harrison Jr. wasn't in this draft class, Malik Neighbors would be easily wide receiver 1, or, a fringe wide receiver 2. But he's tremendous. I think he'd be a really great complement to DJ Moore. And this is how you start to build around Justin Fields. I'll be honest with you. I don't think that the Bears move on from Justin Fields. I think if Ryan Poles were to stay in charge, I think he sticks with Justin Fields, not only because he's played well at the last 5 or 6 weeks, I would say. He's put them in positions to win. I know against Cleveland, he did miss a couple throws here and there, but his receivers didn't help him either by dropping the football a ton as well. So Justin Fields has been playing a lot better. He's looking like a guy that can be a franchise quarterback if you build around him. I think he does need another weapon. He gets Malik Neighbors here. And I think the locker room is fully behind Justin Fields. That's why I think that they hold on to him. I think if you trade Justin Fields and a lot of these players stay, you're either risking a mass exodus of players that want to leave, or you're just going to completely lose the locker room. So I think to keep everything sane, you keep Justin Fields, you build around him, and you build a fantastic roster. So Chicago has back-to-back picks here. They took Malik Neighbors with the number 4 overall pick. I am not picking with the number 5 overall pick. Yes, I'm trading down twice with the Chicago Bears. Just so happens to be 2 different picks in this draft here, with essentially the 2 best wide receivers off the board, the 2 best quarterbacks off the board. This is where you start to get some hairy territory here. Now, if you look over here, number 10, well, first off, number 6 could be, the Giants could be in play for a quarterback. Number 10, number 12, number 13, and number 15, maybe even number 16 are all in play for quarterbacks. Pittsburgh, Seattle, New Orleans, Las Vegas, and Atlanta, and maybe the Giants as well. I mean, you got to think that one of those teams are going to make the call. Once Chicago stays at number 4, they take their player and they move on to their next pick. You got to think that they're going to, listen to some trade offers. And I think they get a really good one here from the Las Vegas Raiders. So the Las Vegas Raiders make a move up 7 spots from number 12 overall to number 5 overall. It cost them their second round pick this year and a second round pick next year. The trade engine said that a first round pick and a second round pick to move up from 12 to number 5 was too much. So I just kind of went with, I wanted them to acquire assets for this year and not really worry about next year, but they do get another second round picks. Now, Chicago went from having 2 top 5 picks and no picks in the second round to now having, 2 top 15 picks and then another 2 top 50 picks as well, or 55, whatever it may be. So you're adding a ton of value while you're moving back in this year's draft alone. So there's only one reason why the Vegas Raiders would move up here. Don't get me wrong. The 63 points that they scored against the Los Angeles Chargers shouldn't deter you away from the fact that they desperately need a quarterback. Aiden O'Connell is cool, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's your franchise guy. I think you move up here and you take Jaden Daniels. I know I'm breaking the heart of all these New Orleans Saints fans who desperately want Jaden Daniels. I'm sorry, but from what the draft capital and the potential veterans that Las Vegas could move up from 12 to 5 is kind of more than what the New Orleans Saints have at number 13. They just don't really have the draft capital this year. And I think that's what Chicago's really looking for, is draft capital this year and next year, possibly even maybe an aging veteran that could fill a need short term. So the Raiders move up. You ever realize when I'm doing these videos, I'm just thinking about it now, my nose just gets so itchy for some reason when I start recording these videos. I keep going like this every time. I'm sorry if you guys see that in the video all the time. I really do apologize, but my nose gets so itchy all the time. I don't know why. Anyway, Jaden Daniels is going to be the pick here at number 5. Kind of breaks the heart of Giants fans, Saints fans, Atlanta fans, whatever it may be. But Las Vegas does what they have to do. They move up to the top 5 and they get their quarterback. And this is really what I think is going to be realistic with Jaden Daniels. A lot of people don't see him being a top 5 pick. I think he is. I really think he's firmly cemented himself as quarterback 3. Me personally, I think I'd prefer Michael Penix Jr. over Jaden Daniels. That's just a personal preference, though. I think Jaden Daniels is a phenomenal football player, and I think he's going to be great at the NFL level. And I would have no problem with any team moving up to the top 5 to get him. So Jaden Daniels is the pick here. And Joe Shane is an interesting GM here. I tried to move down on this pick here, to be quite honest with you, but I just didn't see, with Jaden Daniels gone now, I couldn't justify any of these teams moving up for another quarterback. And there's really no other skill position here that I would move up for all the way to number 6. So the Giants have to stay here. They're kind of forced to make their pick here at number 6. And Joe Shane is a GM that's known to take the best player available. And I don't think that there's a better player in the draft that's left than Brock Bowers. I talked about the fact that I think that there's two players in this draft that are generational, that being Marvin Harrison Jr., and the other player being Brock Bowers. I've said it weeks prior. I'll say it again. I think he's absolutely generational. The fact that he brings just such athleticism, big playmaking ability, and good blocking to the tight end position, he immediately could enter the NFL as a top 6 or top 7 tight end. That's insane. But Darren Waller is on the Giants right now. He's not a long-term answer. You get your long-term answer here. You get another weapon for it's going to have to be Daniel Jones at this rate. Daniel Jones or Tommy DeVito, whoever it may be, playing quarterback. Brock Bowers is going to be the pick here, the best player on the board. Maybe not necessarily a need, but he is a weapon, and that is what you need. You could put him, in the slot. He's just as effective in the slot as he is in line. He's a phenomenal overall player, and Joe Shane gets that weapon that they desperately look for here. And at number 7, you have the New York Jets. And I'll be honest with you, even with Joe Alt on the board, I know last week I got flack for, Joe Alt's on the board at number 7. Listen, Joe Douglas is a guy that loves a draft trade. And with a top 10 pick as of right now, I can't see the Jets drafting inside the top 10, not with that massive gap that they have. Now, what I'm saying here isn't really going to make too much sense because when you see who I trade up with, they don't have a second round pick. But with that being said, I still think they trade down and they acquire future assets. So I'm going to trade the number 7 overall pick to the Seattle Seahawks. So the Seattle Seahawks move up into the top 10 from number 15 overall. It cost them a third round pick this year and a second round pick next year as well. So acquiring future assets, possibly for a trade up from the third round. Now the Jets own 2 third round picks and then 2 second round picks for next year as well. So maybe an arsenal to trade up in this draft here. We won't be doing that today, but maybe hypothetically. Only one reason why Seattle moves up here. I think with the teams that are coming up, you see Atlanta, you see, like I said, New Orleans, maybe even someone like Pittsburgh. Maybe even Tampa Bay or Minnesota decides to move up into the top 10 to take a quarterback. I think Seattle parts ways with a few mid-round picks to move up and get their guy. And I think that's going to be Bo Nix, to be honest with you. I don't know. Seattle fans have a love-hate relationship with Bo Nix. People on Twitter hate when I mock Bo Nix to the Seattle Seahawks. And people on YouTube love it. They think it's great. And I think Bo Nix is the player here. A Northwest guy playing at in Oregon, doesn't have to go too far to play in Seattle as well. And I just think he's kind of the quarterback that the Seattle Seahawks are looking for. He's a guy that he doesn't have an outrageous arm. He's got a good enough arm to make every single throw that you'll ask him to make. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot. I'm not talking, it sounds like I'm trying to describe a game manager, but I'm not, because Bo Nix is capable of those big play abilities as well. He could do way more. But with the offense that they have, I really do think that they're looking for a guy, at least for the first year or two, that could be a game manager that doesn't turn the football over, and then maybe something more. They're obviously still a run-first team with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, and then they have Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and the Jigba. They have DK Metcalf as well, Noah Fant. So they have weapons. They have a great offense. I just think they need a great facilitator, a point guard, if you will, at the quarterback position. I think Bo Nix could easily supply that for them. At number 8 here, I think the Chargers, with Brock Bowers being off the board, I think they would be in a prime trade down spot. Like I said before, though, I just can't really justify a trade down here. I don't really see anyone that would be willing to move up to number 8 to take another quarterback. So I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to draft a huge need for them. Kool-Aid McKinstry is going to be the pick. I think he's the best cornerback in the draft. It's really close for me between him and Nate Wiggins. Cooper DeJean is probably going to be more of a hybrid, someone that's going to play in the slot, play at safety, maybe even Buffalo nickel, sub-package linebacker, stuff like that. McKinstry is going to be the pick here for me. The Chargers run about a 55-45 split between zone and man. It's going to change because Brandon Staley's not there anymore. But with the data that I have, they were running 55-45 split. And McKinstry is probably the best zone corner in the entire draft class. But with that cover 7 at Alabama, he does have really good chops and man coverage as well. So I think he'd be a perfect addition to the secondary of the LA Chargers that desperately needs it. This is pretty simple here at number 9 overall, Tennessee. If you watched the Week 15 game between Tennessee and Houston, Will Levis basically got blown up every chance that he got, and he left the game injured as well. I think this is enough of a scare for the Tennessee Titans to go out and take the best offensive lineman available, if that wasn't clear already. That's going to be Joe Alt for me. I just think he embodies exactly what the Tennessee Titans are looking for. If they're still going to try and be a run first team, this is a big, nasty, technically sound offensive tackle. And he's going to be your left tackle of the future, your cornerstone left tackle, if you will. And then at number 10, you have the Atlanta Falcons. And I know that it was like hurricane conditions in Carolina, but we cannot continue to go through with this again for another week. The Atlanta Falcons have to draft a quarterback here. I don't think that they move up. They have a decent amount of assets, but nothing I would consider moving up for a quarterback here. I think that they could land a fine one here at number 10, and it's going to be my boy, Michael Penix Jr. He's been falling a lot in mocks recently, and I think a lot of people are getting that sense that, oh, well, he's going to be a draft day faller because of his medical history. And that might be true in the actual draft, but here, 2 straight healthy years at Washington, it seems like those injuries are long behind him. It doesn't really hamper his ability to move around. I think he's going to be all right. I think he's definitely worthy of a top 10 pick based off of his arm strength, his ball placement, his big playmaking ability. He definitely passes the eye test. At number 11, I don't think a better player could have fallen into a position here than Olaf Ashanu at number 11 to the Green Bay Packers. They just get their left tackle of the future as well. Pretty simple there. Then the Chicago Bears with their trade down. Look at this arsenal that I gave you, Chicago Bears fans. 4, 12, 36, and 43. I don't think you guys could thank me enough. It's a thankless job, I understand. You could just thank me in the comment section below. I'm probably not going to get any, but that's all right. I don't care. It's all well and good. It's all fun. I'm going to go with Jerzon Newton here. I think that this was a pick that I made weeks and weeks ago as like a top 5 pick, and people are like, whoa, slow your roll there, Chief. But I think Jerzon Newton is exactly what the Chicago Bears need in the middle of their defense. A stout run defender, an incredible pass rusher as well. He really feels like, in terms of a riser, he feels like a Kalijah Kancey from last year, but I feel like he could produce like a Jalen Carter as well. He, for me, is the best defensive player in the entire draft class. I think this would be an absolute win for the Chicago Bears if they could leave the first round with Johnny Newton and Malik Neighbors, two really, really big areas of need for them. At number 13, you have the New Orleans Saints, and the Saints are pretty deflated here. They saw Jaden Daniels leave. They don't really have the assets to move up. Then they figured, all right, well, Bo Nix will be there, and Seattle moves up to get their man. I don't think it's the end of the world. I don't think it's great. Sitting at 7-7 is a little. I think they're 7-7 if I'm not mistaken. 7-7 or 6-8, one of those two. I think it's 7-7 though. Yeah, they're tied for the NFC South at the time of recording with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in terms of record. Right. So sitting at 7-7 with mediocre quarterback play. 1 week you get a decent showing from Derek Carr. Another week he's averaging like 2.7 yards per attempt. I can't justify taking J.J. McCarthy here. I don't think that he fits what New Orleans is trying to do. I don't think that he would flourish in that offense at all. I think he'd be a disaster in New Orleans, to be quite honest with you. I think we're going to pass on a quarterback here. I know Saints fans are not going to be fond of that, but I'm not going to force myself to take a quarterback at number 13 if I don't think that quarterback's going to play well. We're going to go edge here, and Dallas Turner is probably the best player left on the board, and we're going to take him here. The Saints just get mediocre pass rushing, to be quite honest with you. Carl Granderson is having a career year, but outside of that, it's really been not much. I could see Cam Jordan being a cap casualty this year if he has any years remaining on his contract. I don't necessarily remember, but his play has obviously fallen off. He was a tremendous football player, still is a great football player, but as age goes on, this defense is just old. They have a lot of old playmakers. Demario Davis is still playing all pro level football, but he's also 34, going to be 35. Cam Jordan, kind of the same deal. Tyrann Mathieu was taking a step back. These are expensive defensive players. I think you need to start bringing in the younger players so that they're on 5-year rookie contracts and you have some breathing room, because the Saints have been in cap hell for like the last 4 or 5 years. So I think you need to start getting some breathing room. And Dallas Turner is a phenomenal player off the edge, a great run defender as well. I think he'd be great in New Orleans. The Denver Broncos at number 14 here. Pretty simple. Laiatu Latu's on the board. That is a perfect fit. I mean, they not only do they need pass rushing, they need solid run defending as well. This is a guy who can play, even at 265 pounds. I'm fully convinced in a 3-4, he could play on the interior, and he could also play rush linebacker. That's what he played mostly at UCLA. He has the athleticism to drop back into coverage as well. So I like Latu here a lot for the Denver Broncos. My New York Jets at number 15. Like I said, they still only have one pick in this two-round mock draft, but now they are set in case they want to move up into the second round. They have two third-round picks to work with. They have a couple mid-round picks as well, a couple fourth, fifth, sixth rounders, and then they have more picks for next year as well. But I'm going to stay with just the number 15 overall pick right now. I'm going to take Talisi Fuaga, someone that brings a lot of. By the way, if you see Amarius Mims getting passed pick by pick, just know that the only reason why I'm not picking him is because I'm fully convinced that he's going back to Georgia for another year, especially after an injury riddled season. So I'm going to hold off on taking Amarius Mims in any of these mock drafts until we get some kind of clarity from him. But I'm going to take Talisi Fuaga, someone that could play on the inside, could play on the outside. The New York Jets just need offensive linemen. They just need offensive linemen. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, if you watched any first off, if you're not a Jet fan, I don't understand why you would. If you watch any of that 30 to nothing shellacking by the Miami Dolphins, Zach Wilson literally had like less than a second to even drop back. There were some plays where he he got the ball and was running for his life immediately. They just need an offensive line, 100%. Moving on to the Pittsburgh Steelers here, I love Nate Wiggins here. I really do. But I think Cooper DeJean brings that type of versatility that the Pittsburgh Steelers, I was going to say the Seattle Seahawks, the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking for in their secondary. They need another playmaker besides from Minka Fitzpatrick at the safety position. They could use him as a slot corner. He could play out wide as well. He's a punt returner. He's just one of those guys that just kind of embodies what I feel like it would be to a Pittsburgh Steeler, a nasty, physically strong football player that will give 110% on every single snap. He'll play exactly where you need him to play. He could even he's 6'1", 207 pounds, enough to play sub package linebacker as well. I just think I can't pass up the versatility, especially with the needs more than cornerback in the secondary. So he goes from black and yellow to black and gold. Not a big transition, but Cooper DeJean's the pick for me. And then Nate Wiggins is going to be the pick for me at number 17 for the Arizona Cardinals. Just Marvin Harrison Jr. and Nate Wiggins in the first round is just such a win, if you ask me. Buffalo at number 18 here. Gonna go with Romo Dunze. Pretty straightforward here. I love some of these players. I kind of like Tavondre Sweat here, even though he doesn't necessarily fit the 4-3. I love Tavondre Sweat here next to Ed Oliver. It was intriguing. Same thing with Leonard Taylor, who's a more traditional, like three tack instead of being a nose tackle, where how Mario Cristobal had him at Miami this year, and he basically showed nothing because he's not a nose tackle anyway. But Romo Dunze is going to be the picture for me. Gabe Davis is I don't want to say he's terrible because he's not. He's just super inconsistent. Romo Dunze, I think they let him walk and they bring in another wide receiver. And Odunze is as good as they come in this entire draft class. Tampa Bay at number 19. We're going to go with an edge rusher. We're going to go with Jared Verse, who at the time of recording just announced for the 2024 NFL draft. So don't have to worry about that being an issue anymore. But I mean, Tampa Bay is generating really nothing in terms of pressure. I know they took Kalijah Cansey with their first round pick last year. He's more of an interior guy. Verse, super strong, 6'5", 260 pounds, pure muscle, pure strength, a bull rush, a finesse guy. He's going to get the job done on the outside. I don't think they have to worry about him at rush linebacker. Minnesota at 20, going to go with a quarterback here. Got to go with J.J. McCarthy. I've explained this in detail a bunch of times. I'll give you a quick synopsis. Basically, what I'm saying is, regardless of who they bring in, they're going to have to bring in a quarterback regardless, because Josh Dobbs is a free agent, I believe. So is Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk comes back on a 1-year deal, and I think they draft J.J. McCarthy. He's able to learn from a quarterback guru that is Kevin O'Connell. He will inherit a top 10 offensive line. He'll inherit TJ Hawkinson, KJ Osborne, Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson. I mean, what a better situation to put a young quarterback into. J.J. McCarthy is going to be the pick here for me to maximize his talents. At number 21, I'm going to shy away from edge for the first time in forever with the LA Rams. Unfamiliar territory for the player. I'm going to take JC Latham here. I think that tackle is a bigger need than we give it credit for, or we kind of shine a spotlight on. I think getting someone like Latham, who could play right, who could play on the left, just gives the Rams a ton of versatility. I believe, if I'm not going crazy, I believe Joe Noteboom, I saw in a game recently, was kicked inside to like right guard or something like that. So that gives you a little bit more versatility. A brick wall of a human, 6'7", 360 pounds. If Matt Stafford continues to play after this year, or regardless who plays the quarterback position, they're going to need protection. This offensive line has looked days different than it did from last year. I mean, they couldn't protect shit last year, and this year they're doing a much better job. And Latham could just add to that as well. The Indianapolis Colts at pick number 22, going to go a little outside the box here, I believe. I'm going to take Brian Thomas Jr., just a boundary wide receiver that not only could win with size down the field, but he could also win with speed. And I feel like the Indianapolis Colts have speed at the slot receiver position and a possession receiver in Michael Pittman Jr. I think a nice combination of both would really, really round out this receiving core very, very nicely for Anthony Richardson next year. Jacksonville at number 23. I'm going to take Devondre Sweat. I just think this defensive line just needs a overhaul from top to bottom pretty much. I was considering Leonard Taylor here, but I think Sweat is going to take that traditional nose tackle role, and he's just going to be an absolute animal. There's no reason why a 6'4", 360-pound human moves the way that Devondre Sweat does. I think it needs to be studied. He needs to be, he needs all those patches on him. He needs to be like suspended in liquid inside of a lab, and he needs to be studied because it doesn't make sense how athletic he is for his size. He fully reminds me of Vince Wilfork. And I think he's going to be an absolute animal at the next level. And number 23 here, Devondre Sweat is the pick for me. Cincinnati, love the wide receivers that are on the board here. Not going to do it. I think with everything that's going on with the offensive line, Jonah Williams is a free agent. He basically has 1 foot out the door already. Ted Karras is going to be a free agent next year. They have to pay Trey Hendrickson. They have to pay Jamar Chase. They have a lot of people that they have to pay. Not only that, this offseason, T. Higgins is a free agent. Tyler Boyd's a free agent. They're probably only going to bring back one. They have a lot of money that they have to pay a lot of guys soon. So I think if Jonah Williams walks, you get someone like Graham Barton, who can play on the right and he can play on the interior as well. You're kind of covering both of your bases in a long-term play here with Graham Barton. He's a phenomenal player as well. So, the protection always could use an upgrade for Joe Burrow. You're getting a dual threat offense. That's what I'm going to start calling them from now on. A dual threat offensive lineman that could play guard, that could play tackle. I think this is the smarter choice. Not the sexiest choice, but it's the smarter choice in my opinion. You have the Kansas City Chiefs here at number 25, and I am going to take Xavier Leggett from South Carolina. 6'3", 227 pounds, 4.29 speed. Can you imagine that with Patrick Mahomes? He's dying for a wide receiver right now. I think he would target Xavier Leggett 200 times in a season, honestly, if that's what he could bring to the table. If he could just take what he did his senior year and move it over to the NFL, I know it's a different game, but you can't argue with that size and that strength and that speed combination. It is insane. It really is. Like, it's honestly crazy if you watch his tape. I have a NFL draft prospect profile on him that I did a couple weeks ago, and I was in awe watching him run down the field. He is an absolute beast. This would be an amazing pick for KC. So I'm going to make a trade here. Houston at 26, I think, can afford to move out of the first round and acquire future assets. The three favorites for head coach of the year at this point have to be Kevin Stefanski, DeMeco Ryans, and Shane Steichen. Has to be, right? With what they've done with their teams. I mean, DeMeco Ryans has been fantastic. He proved last week that he could win without CJ Stroud as well. They had Case Keenum and Davis Mills at quarterback, and they were able to beat their rival, the Tennessee Titans. I think they can afford to move out of the first round here. A team that needs to move into the first round, though, that doesn't have a first round pick, is going to be the Carolina Panthers. So the Carolina Panthers move up from 33 to 26, and they are going to take Keon Coleman. 6'4", 215 pounds, mid 4.4 speed. Just a guy that I think is going to be incredible at the next level. We've seen that archetype kind of fail more often than not, believe it or not, that 6'4", 215-pound guy, but he's just super athletic, has played multiple sports. He's a phenomenal football player, could high point the ball really well down the field. I just think, pardon me, you can get anything for Bryce Young, and it would be an upgrade. But they move up to get someone that should have been drafted a while ago, and that's going to be Keon Coleman. At 27, you have the Detroit Lions. I'm going to go with a perfect scheme fit corner here who could be number one, could be their cornerback one right away, and that's going to be Quinyon Mitchell, someone that I've been super high on the last few weeks. If you're not familiar with his game, my friend JWack Gridiron, check out his channel. He puts great stuff up. He did a prospect profile on him before I got the chance to. Bastard stole my thunder. But no, he did a really, really good job on Quinyon Mitchell. So go check that out. JWack Gridiron. Great job. At number 28, you have the Philadelphia Eagles here. And I got to be honest with you, after the last few weeks, if people argue with me that Philadelphia doesn't need a boundary cornerback after watching James Bradbury last week, I mean, this past week on Monday Night Football, and Darius Slay, this season in general, I think you need your head examined. Terrion Arnold is going to be the pick here for me. Just they need an upgrade at corner. Absolutely. They've been getting toasted the last few weeks. Miami at number 29. Going to go with an offensive tackle here. I know people might think that that doesn't make a lot of sense because Teron Armstead is still technically under contract for the next 3 years, and they just locked up Austin Jackson long-term 3 years as well. But Austin Jackson is going to be your technical blindside blocker at right tackle. Teron Armstead for me is just too injury prone, too old. If he decides to play another year at left tackle, I think Patrick Paul is someone that's versatile enough in the run and pass game that could kick inside to guard at 6'7". That would be amazing. 6'7" guard, and then eventually, when the time is right, he can kick back out to left tackle. But Paul is the exact perfect offensive tackle for what the Miami Dolphins are trying to do on offense. Great pass blocker, probably the best pass blocker in the entire draft class, honestly. At number 30, you have the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm not going to lie, this pick is just purely because of the weapon that he is. I think the Dallas Cowboys, doesn't Cameron Kinchens just seem like a Dallas Cowboy to you? I don't know. It's either going to be one of these two picks. I feel like he seems like either a San Francisco 49er or a Dallas Cowboy. I'm going to make the pick here. I don't necessarily think they need a massive upgrade in the secondary, but when you can get a versatile weapon like Cam Kinchens, I don't think that you could pass up on him. I know the offensive line, you're going to need some upgrades eventually. We could address that in the mid rounds. We're going to get a bona fide playmaker and a superstar at the next level. When you have someone that has been compared to Ed Reed at the safety position, and you're the Dallas Cowboys, I feel like you can't pass that up. You got to go get him. So Cam Kinchens is going to be the pick here for me at number 30. At number 31, the San Francisco 49ers. I think they still stay looking for a safety, and it's going to be Tyler Nubin. Just someone that could make a play at such an incredible size for the safety position as well. 6'2", 210 pounds, mid 4.4 speed for his size. Maybe on the back end, maybe like 4.49, maybe even a 4.5, but still great speed for his size as well. I think this would be a tremendous pickup for that San Francisco 49ers defense. Baltimore Ravens with the last pick in the first round here. We're going to address the wide receiver situation here. It's going to be Adonai Mitchell. 6'4", 200 pounds, super speedy, a deep threat that could win 50-50 balls down the field, I think is exactly what Lamar Jackson needs in this offense. So I think Odell walks. Rashad Bateman is okay, I guess, for another year. And then you have Zay Flowers and Adonai Mitchell on the outside with Mark Andrews in the middle. That sounds pretty damn good to me. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Round two. At number 33 overall, we have Troy Fautanu here. The reason why I'm taking him, I know that Titus Howard just signed a big-time extension, and Laremy Tunsil is one of the best left tackles in football. But Fautanu offers so much more versatility on the interior, and I think you have to really, really protect C.J. Stroud here. He's clearly your number one asset, and I think the interior of the offensive line could use some real work for the Houston Texans. Braylon Trice falls to 34 and is scooped up by the Arizona Cardinals instantaneously. I think this would be a fantastic addition to their defensive line here. Xavier Worthy is the pick to pair with Drake May, and Xavier Worthy sounds like a absolutely deadly combination at number 35. At number 36, I address the cornerback position for the Chicago Bears. I know right now it doesn't seem like a huge need, but if Jalen Johnson leaves in free agency, then I mean, that's a big time hole. Tyreek Stevenson has been really, really good on one side. Kamari Lassiter would be a fantastic addition if Jalen Johnson were to leave. And if he wasn't, I still think it would be a great addition. JT Tuimalau here for me, for the Giants at number 37. I just think that Kayvon Thibodeau needs someone on the other side of him to actually rush the passer. It's been really all Kayvon Thibodeau and Dexter Lawrence in the middle, and that's really all the Giants have been able to do. I think edge is a sneaky need for the New York Giants. Everyone looks at the offensive line, looks at the weapons, but the defense has some holes as well. At number 38, the Green Bay Packers, Troy Franklin falls to the Green Bay Packers at 38. And I think that this Packers offense is just one legitimate wide receiver one away from being absolutely deadly. They have so many young players on the offensive side. They really do. And then you just got Olaf Ashanu in the first round. You're getting Troy Franklin here, someone that can be that legitimate wide receiver one. I just think that Christian Watson's a little bit too much of a one-trick pony, and he also gets hurt all the time. So you're looking at someone a little bit more reliable that could win on all three levels in Troy Franklin. Emeka Ibuka is just a desperately needed offensive weapon for Justin Herbert and company at number 39. Kalen King offers a really nice boundary, corner at the next level. I think his best move is honestly to play in the slot. I think he'd be really good at that position with his quickness and his speed, but he still could be a boundary corner. I just think Tennessee needs an upgrade in the secondary, regardless of where exactly he plays. Kingsley Suamatia is the pick at number 41 to protect Caleb Williams that we picked at number 1. So it was crucial that we were able to keep the number 41 overall pick while still making that trade. Number 42 overall, the Green Bay Packers address the defensive line. They take Leonard Taylor, who's going to be that interior defensive end, and that is the position that he should have played this year at Miami. He was moved inside to nose tackle, and this didn't work out for him. So he kicks back out to defensive end. I think he's going to be great at the NFL level. At 43, the last pick in this draft for the Chicago Bears, they get Zach Frazier, probably, to be quite honest with you, is slowly becoming my favorite center prospect in the entire draft class. He's a true center prospect. I believe he only played 7 other games in his collegiate career at a different position. True center, a great run scheme blocker as well. He's a good pass blocker, really, really smart. 3-time academic All-American as well. I think he'd just be an instant upgrade in the middle of that offensive line. Chop Robinson at 44. I know that Ryan Nielsen and co. kind of like a bigger defensive rush linebacker, excuse me. So Chop Robinson being, 6'3", 250, maybe they're looking for someone that's more in the 260, 265 range, but I think he's a great player. I just think he has to put it all together athletically and, just his football IQ. He has to put everything together, but he'd be a fine player for the Atlanta Falcons. At 45, you have Jordan Morgan for the New Orleans Saints. Trevor Penning hasn't been able to hold down a spot. Maybe move him to the inside and you put Jordan Morgan out there at right tackle or left tackle, excuse me. I think he'd be great. Cooper Beebe is someone that offers some really nice versatility for the New York Giants. I know he's listed as an offensive tackle. He can play offensive tackle, but I think his best position in the NFL is going to be guard. I mean, 6'4", 335 pounds. You're looking at a type of player that was kind of like Tyler Smith to go for Dallas, where he kicked outside and he really wasn't that great, but then they moved him back to his position of playing guard. He's been phenomenal this season at left guard. At 47, you get Jalen Polk. I'm fully convinced that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be moving on from George Pickens this offseason. Just too much baggage that comes along with him. I think they're going to need another boundary receiver. Polk being 6'4", 210 pounds, can win downfield, would be tremendous. Tyler Guyton is exactly what I think the Philadelphia Eagles are looking for here at number 48. You're looking at someone that might need a year to kind of chill and learn and get better. He's got incredible athletic ability, and he just has to put it all together as a actual tackle. And, with Lane Johnson getting older, getting a little bit more injured, I think that this would be the perfect replacement after Lane Johnson is done playing for the Philadelphia Eagles. I know it's weird drafting a replacement that's not going to play right away at number 48 in the second round, but we've seen the Philadelphia Eagles do this. We saw them do this with Cam Jurgens a couple of years ago. Now he's turned into a fine player as well. Kalen Bullock is going to be the pick here for me. I really liked Tyleik Williams here. I'm not going to lie, but I just think the secondary needs a young upgrade with Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde getting up there in age. I just think you need to nip it in the butt while you have the opportunity. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is going to be a perfect replacement for Denzel Perryman. I never thought I'd say this, but Blake Cashman is playing all pro football. Never thought I'd ever say that as a Jet fan, to be quite honest with you, but he's been incredible this year. Denzel Perryman has really been the weak spot in the middle of that defense for the Houston Texans. You get a super athletic, while undersized, he's a super athletic and a good playmaker for the linebacker position. Tyleik Williams is someone that could offer some really nice versatility at number 51 for the Minnesota Vikings. Can be that 3-tech, maybe even can play kind of wide in that spot, that 5-eye, I want to say, 5-eye tech, something around there. Not necessarily so far out like a 7, but not so far in like a 5, kind of in that weird middle ground there. I think he'd be a great addition to that defensive line. 52, you have the LA Chargers, the LA Rams could use another boundary corner or a slot corner with Denzel Burke. He's really boosted his draft stock this season after having a rough year last year. He's been incredible this year. Would be perfect for the LA Rams and Raheem Morris's defense. 53, TJ Tampa is someone that's been slowly creeping up my board. It's either been him or DJ James that have been creeping up my board. I think Tampa would be I didn't even realize until just now. DJ Tampa in Tampa. Wow, I'm acting a little slow today. At 54, you have Christian Haynes, could really solve the interior offensive line problems for the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a really beefy 2-round mock draft for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They get a 364-pound nose tackle, and then they get Christian Haynes, an interior offensive lineman. It's not the sexiest draft, but it's definitely necessary. Byron Murphy, everyone forgets, was the big, I want to say he was the Big 12 defensive player of the year. I want to say that. I know that Tavondre Sweat was also a defensive player of the year. I don't know if he was, I don't remember what exactly it was, but they were both defensive player of the year something. He was incredible as well. I think this would be a natural replacement for DJ Reader if he was going to leave in free agency, or next year as BJ Hill is going to leave probably as well. He's going to have to be paid. So either way, I think he'd fit at the 3 tech or he'd fit at nose tackle. Either way, Javon Bullard is an interesting one here for the Indianapolis Colts at number 56. The reason I picked him is the safety position has been really, really disappointing for the Indianapolis Colts this year. Not only that, Bullard could also play corner. So you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone here. I would have liked to went with more of a true corner, but there was really no one I actually liked here kind of fitting in the defensive scheme. I think Bullard is someone that could be moved around quite well, and I like that fit a lot. Kieran Amagaji at number 57 here. I just think Jed Wills is they need to cut their losses with Jed Wills and replace him with someone that could actually play tackle. 6'8", has a 99th percentile in arm length. He's an absolute freak. I know he plays at Yale, but if you ever watched him tape on Kieran Amagaji, it looks like a man playing against small children. Jatavion Sanders. I know I went with a wide receiver in the first round with Xavier Leggett, and I'm going with a tight end here, kind of ignoring the offensive line issues for the Kansas City Chiefs, but I can't pass up Jatavion Sanders being that, you know, that guy that comes in after Travis Kelce is done and just kind of fitting his role perfectly. Super athletic, a great pass catcher as well. I think he'd be able to slide in seamlessly after Travis Kelce eventually retires. Malachi Corley is that slot receiver that I feel like the Philadelphia Eagles desperately need. Some weeks we've seen A.J. Brown disappear. Some weeks we've seen Devontae Smith disappear. And we're really just relying on Olamide Zaccheaus here as a wide receiver 3. I think or Julio Jones. I think you need to get a true slot receiver in there that's going to wreak havoc. Jackson Powers Johnson at number 60, someone that I really like. An All-American this past season at the center position. Frank Ragnow is a sensational center, but Powers Johnson also has significant experience at left guard and just guard in general. So if Jonah Jackson or Vaitai were to leave in free agency, you have a natural, replacement right away in Powers Johnson. Brandon Dorless, I think, offers some really nice versatility to the Dallas Cowboys defensive line. He's big enough to play defensive tackle. He also has enough speed, quickness, and athleticism to play defensive end. Just something that I feel like Dallas is looking for. They're looking for more of those athletes more than anything. And Dorless is a fantastic athlete. Chris Jenkins at number 62, Raekwon Davis and Christian Wilkins, I believe, are both free agents after this year. I don't think they're going to be able to re-sign both of them. Jenkins would slot in nice for that role that Raekwon Davis has been playing. Chris Abrams-Drain, another secondary piece for the San Francisco 49ers, just kind of re-upping. I know that the San Francisco 49ers are so good that it just seems like they don't need help other places, but you could argue that safety and corner are probably their 2 weakest spots on the defensive side, even though they're still great. And then to round out this 2-round mock, we're getting Michael Hall Jr. here for the Baltimore Ravens. Just someone that I think could be a great 5 tech for them. I think they need some defensive line upgrades as well. Just someone that could slot in and play seamlessly. He's good against the run as well. I would prefer Tyleek Williams over him, but I think Michael Hall Jr. is still a fine prospect here in the top 64. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There's my 2-round NFL mock draft after week 15 of the NFL season. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Please leave a like. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope I see you in the next one. Thank you.